Who dat?
Who dat? Yeah. We had the Saints in Indy. In a
Uh,
game that did not expect to go the way it did. I'm gonna be
man,
honest.
at the beginning of the season, um, the Colts are like a favorite to like go to the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
So I'm seeing this game on the schedule. I'm like, well, this is a loss, and that's why you play the games, though, right? I mean, the season hasn't gone the way it was expected for the Colts or the Saints, really.
Yeah.
Um, these last 2 weeks have really given me hope, and I think the rest of the fan base that maybe the season's not over. The Saints, they looked, it was just against the Colts, but they looked good on the road. So that's not always true. They did almost give the game away in the second half, so they do, but they finished. That's the difference between, you know, the other teams that have lost games, earlier games in the season they've lost, and this one, they got it close, but they pulled it out and they finished.
That was the difference with what the Saints had last year. They couldn't finish
Right,
games at all.
right, right. They, Luck did his thing. He adjusted. They did whatever the hell they talked about at halftime,
Mm-hmm.
and they figured something out. And man, it worked. They made the adjustments, and look, he regained his form. He posted enough numbers in the second half to be a good, to make it look like he had a good game.
Yeah, I think I got like 25 points from him in fantasy this
Yeah,
week, and
yeah.
it all came from the second half.
He had a better game in the second half than most quarterbacks have in a whole game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was really like two different games almost, man. Like the first half was like just a dominant performance by the Saints, 20-0, and it ended up being like 27-20, like a one-score game.
Yeah.
Uh, I think the big talk of the game was, hold on, maybe the Colts learned something here. I'll educate you. Sean Payton educated you. That's how you run a trick play. Not whatever the hell it was you did last week. That's how you run a trick play. You're welcome. He showed you how to do it. Go try it on somebody.
Damn.
What's funny is Les Miles, the coach at LSU, is nicknamed the Mad Hatter. He's notorious for doing shit like that. And a lot of people were like talking about John Payton taking a page out of the Mad Hatter's book, run a play like that. But it actually was really smart, I think, because Josh McCown actually got to play a game this year,
Yeah.
and he had just started like a couple games ago. So like the pressure of going in and throwing a pass in a regular season game was probably not on him. Like he probably didn't really feel too much pressure. He's like, oh, I've already done this.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
regularly I would imagine as a backup you get put in the game and you're like, oh shit, all right, this is the real deal. Like it probably takes you a little bit to like get over the anxiousness and the nerves. But he probably wasn't going through that. So he just went out there, threw the pass. It was a great pass, and it didn't go into the end zone. It got, but it converted the first down, and then we got the touchdown through that pass. So that was, that was just a great play, and it was kind of just symbolic, I guess, of the whole victory. That was it was a good win for the Saints. A lot of turnovers too in the first half, which was impressive. They looked like the Super Bowl defense, at least briefly.
Yeah.
With all the turnovers, something we haven't really done very well since the Super Bowl season. The Colts, it's pretty sad. The division is so bad in the AFC South that they're still in first place.
That is realistic because it seems like
It didn't even matter that they lost. They're still in first place.
it's really weird about the Colts this year because it just seems like all you hear about them is losing all the time,
Yeah.
and yet they're still in first place. And honestly, the majority of their wins came from Matt Hasselbeck.
Yeah.
It is weird, and the thing is, like, yeah, the first 2 games, 3 games of the season, Andrew Luck did look like garbage, which is weird, especially coming from Andrew Luck. Now he came back from his injury, and he's actually putting up really good statistics, but they're not winning games.
Right.
And I think when it's going to be said and done, I dwelled on this last week after the worst play in NFL history came out. I think it's going to come down to, even if they win the division, Chuck Pagano's job is going to be on the line. It's because they might be another potentially, and you know what? It honestly wouldn't even surprise me if this would be the third season now where the Colts would go 7-9 and win the division.
You know, if the division being as weak as it is, if they don't win the division, I think he's gone for sure.
Yeah.
And there's the potential for him to be gone even if they do. You know, if they get to the playoffs and then maybe make a little bit of a run there, then might save his job. But there's definitely going to have to be some adjustments with the coaching staff. Like, something's got to change.
Yeah.
Because this team is wanting to be a contender. This is the Colts. Ever since they drafted Peyton Manning, you know, back in the 90s, they've been used to, minus the one season, they've been used to winning.
Yeah.
This is a team that expects bare minimum is playoffs. You know, I mean, that's absolute worst case scenario is you win the division, go to the wild card round, and lose in the first round. They expect you to at least make it to that game.
Yeah.
And the fact that's in jeopardy in a division this week this year, you know, it shouldn't be in jeopardy. They should be, if not undefeated, you know, way out in front.
Yeah, they should be looking like a 5-1, 4-2 team, and just being way at least a 5-1 team at this, you know, because they did play against the Patriots. Okay, if that was a one loss and they win the rest of the game, like that's what they should be looking.
You know what?
Like
and in that game, I know they lost, but they showed that they put up a fight. They showed they have. I don't know what it is. If it's coaching, if it's just because it's a lot of new players, so they haven't got used to the schemes. The luck's been a little bit off. He has been releasing the ball quicker, which was noticeable, especially in the last game. Not so much in this one, I guess, because there were some pretty bad turnovers and stuff there. But it's just, I mean, they might benefit from a new coach and getting a fresh start, honestly.
Yeah, maybe.
And I like Chuck Pagano. I don't wish anyone to get fired, but
yeah,
it's it kind of just feels like it's inevitable.
It's strange. It's very strange, and I think it's strange to see Andrew Luck struggling. This isn't something that I think anybody really expected to come out.
Especially the division being the way it is, like
it's strange. Yeah, well, yeah, I think that's probably what it is. Like, because I was about to say, if you look at it when it was 3 years ago when we called the year of the rookies. You know, you had RG3 and you had Andrew Luck and Russell Wilson all emerging as rookies. All three of them made the playoffs that year. And now you come into the third year pro, and I expected.
And that was the Kaepernick year, too. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was. And I think that you come out, and I expected Andrew Luck to be like the best quarterback out of those three. I thought he was the best quarterback even when they all emerged. I figured that this is going to be a year that he's going to show it. But even Russell Wilson's struggling this year. Russell Wilson's the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. Right. He has a lot of turnovers this year. I think it's like 7 or 8 right now. They're both struggling, but in a way, like, it makes sense that Russell Wilson would be struggling because he has a really hard division to be in. Andrew Luck is struggling in a division that is really easy for him, and that's kind of the big difference right now. And
with Russell Wilson and Andrew Luck, I think they have a similar problem in that if the quarterback's the most important position in football, the offensive line is the second most important position.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, they're the most underrated and the least talk. No one talks about an offensive lineman unless he screws up. It's kind of like the referees in that regard. But that's definitely, give me the best offensive line in football, and you know, give me the best offensive line in football on Madden, and I'll win.
Yeah.
Like I'll win with the subpar rest of the team.
You know,
I
it's
mean, look
great.
at Dallas. The only reason that they're even in these games with subpar quarterbacking and subpar everything really, and often the wide receivers are hurt. Their best wide receivers hurt. Their best running backs gone,
Yeah.
and their best their starting quarterbacks hurt. I know they've lost, but the only reason these games have even been close is because that offensive line is opening up, putting them in position to score.
Yeah.
You know.
I would almost argue that the offensive line is probably the most important position in football, and the reason I'm going to say that is because in Vince Lombardi's biography, his biggest philosophy is that if you don't have an offensive line, you don't have a team.
Well,
I
yeah,
don't care what kind of quarterback or
would
running
say
back you are.
I
If
would I would say collectively they are, but there's not like I guess the reason you say quarterback is because it's the most important one position. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, I
So
suppose.
that's kind of semantics and whatever. But I mean, look at Breeze has kind of struggled when they've lost some of their. Like Carl Nix was one of our guys for years on the line that was the guard in Breeze's blind spot, and as soon as we lost him, there's been a little bit of a decline, in production and victories, quite frankly. And and the offensive line has actually played better in recent games for the Saints, and it's just really reflective of a great quarterback can't be great if he's laying on his ass in the grass.
Yeah,
Like it's kind of hard. A scrambler can make up for some of that, which is one reason why I think Russell Wilson might be posting, decent numbers despite subpar. But Luck, Luck ran for some too, this week.
they're
Uh,
both young enough to run, but
right.
once their age catches up with them, that's not going to
That's
be a factor anymore.
that's not a sustainable system, and it's not sustainable if you want your franchise quarterback to be a franchise quarterback.
Yeah,
You don't want him to be hobbling around at 35. You want him to try to make it to 40 at least. So if it's the sky isn't falling for the Colts by any means in the future, and they've got luck, they've got a lot to build off of there, but it's just them being as bad as they are is the shocker of the season to me,
yeah,
honestly. So
yeah. I think it's really weird because the loss to the Colts, even though you never want to take a loss, but it almost didn't really detrimentally hurt them by any means. But the win for the Saints helped them a
it
lot.
was a big deal, man.
Yeah,
I don't want to like get negative here or anything, but back in the 2012 season, I guess I will be a little negative. At least state something. They were in a must-win game against the Giants. Because I don't know if you remember, they started off with all the losses, and then they put together a run, and it looked like they might do something. And then they bottomed out, and I believe it all started with the Giants. And that's who we have coming. That's who we have, the Giants and New Orleans Saints next week. And two teams that are really, they're pretty similarly talented. They've been pretty similarly inconsistent. We might have the same record, honestly.
what is
Not
it?
sure.
3 and
The
4.
Giants, yeah, the Giants might be 4-3. I'm not sure about that,
Yeah, I think they're 4 and 3.
but yeah, but it should be a good game for both teams. It's too much needed. Both teams need to win. The Giants need it to stay on top,
Yeah,
and the Saints need it to keep their run, keep their season alive, keep it going. Um, if the Saints win against the Giants, and all of a sudden they really are, back in the mix. It's a good win. It's not, this week. It's not something to get too excited about because it was just the Colts. And I guess the last thing I want to say, interesting note, might be the only time we ever see Andrew Luck and Drew Brees square off. So I mean,
Yeah,
realistically, it probably will be the only time. So historical footnote, I guess.
yeah. I you know what that could be true. I mean, unless they get a random scheduling together
It
in the
had to
next couple
be
of
well.
years.
It's 4 more years before they would meet again, and the only other way would be Super Bowl, unless one of them ended up playing for another team, which is plausible, I guess, at this point, especially if it's Drew's last year or something like that.
Yeah,
But yeah, potentially the only time they ever meet though. So little historical footnote
and
for
Drew
this
Brees
game.
got the win on top.
He's won. Yeah.
Maybe he's getting up top to show he's still the elite four.
He's definitely making an argument to say, hey, don't count me out yet.
Yeah, you
The
definitely.
whole
Yeah, I
Saint
would
the whole
say that.
Saints team is right now. So
Yeah, I would
don't
say I counted Drew Brees out. I think we talked about that in the beginning of the very season.
uh,
That I don't know if Drew Brees is going to be considered elite four anymore, but he's making a big argument that he wants to be part of that still.
and it's almost by default because there's so many people that have been hurt and just not playing good
Yeah,
that at this point I feel like you can't really take him out of it because who the hell would you put in his place?
yeah, exactly.
So
That's
uh,
you don't have Tony Romo, Ben Roethlisberger,
yeah,
playing right now, and
Eli's not playing good anymore.
no,
Maybe he'll get his chance to say I deserve it next week. So
I mean Carson Palmer might be the only other quarterback that's really
yeah,
biting the
yeah, and even he's in a little bit of a slump right now.
yeah, exactly.
So,
So yeah, it'll be interesting. We can probably talk about that either this week or next week. We want to do the halfway point of the season, so probably next week after week 8, and we would definitely
so,
discuss all of that coming out, the top players, and I think that we can probably sum it up here.
I
Uh,
agree.
you know,
Who that, baby?
if you want to comment, Facebook, Twitter, join us, and say your piece on everything. Please let us know, and you can follow us on there. And look at that! Look at that! Look at that!